G'day, it's Rob here again. Well, I'm pushing on with this round boring bar holder, or a set of them, for when the tiny little boring bars come from Banggood, which I'm itching to get my hands on. And I've made these using stock that is ideal size for the Chinese lathe, so they'll fit in here. You've got plenty of room, so that'll be able to centre no problem. Now when you make these, of course, if you've got more than one lathe like I have, well, this size may not fit this holder, which it doesn't. And this is what I use on the Shawblins, a little Chinese quick change tool post. So what it means is we need some machining. And so, you know, basically just machine down these to make them fit. So I've done a couple already, and they just go in like that, no problem. The grub screws can be out on the side, or they can be on the top or the bottom. Doesn't really matter. In fact, on the side is probably a good idea, as some people would mention, because the danger with these round tool post, round tool holders, is that when you put the boring bar in, you've got to be careful that they don't actually twist. They can actually, you know, even though they slide in, you know, you might have drilled the holes using the centre line on the lathe to do it. But when you put that bar in, remember that cutting edge can be canted up, down, all over the place. And I've seen people, you know, moan about, oh, they made up a round boring bar holder and, oh, I get a terrible finish. Well, have they checked that in the fact they've got the cutting edge on the horizontal? You know, it could be down, more likely down, or, you know, you're going to get a ratchet finish if it's like that. Being higher is not so bad with boring bars, you know, but if a boring bar drops below centre line for whatever reason, yeah, it'll give you a ratchet finish for sure. And anyway, I'm digressing. So yeah, I've done these two, and it's pretty simple. And I mean, okay, I've got a vertical mill slide, and I could mill using that, but I haven't actually. I've milled just using these tool posts, and I'll show you how I did it, how I'm doing it. And it shows you that, you know, you can do basic, simple milling on the lathe, provided you've got the right cutter for the job. Okay, so we'll move on. Now, just before we do, I'll show you the old brass round shank tool holder that I've got in the drawer. So here it is. Here's one I picked up at a garage sale. You can see they've done the same thing. In this case, this is obviously for a really big lathe, and the fact that they've stepped it on the end like that probably means that it went in the holder and the whole thing's stuck out a bit. But they only use one grub screw. I've used it, it works fine. So yeah, you can make these things up piss easy. It's no problem whatsoever. So I'll show you the milling setup, and I'll bring down this one. I'm only going to do the three smallest. Don't want to do the big one because I probably wouldn't use that on the Shawblin anyway. But these three sizes, I can mill them back, and it's not going to weaken it unduly. So, you know, if I do this one, I'll still have enough meat to do the job. So, yeah, we'll do this one. I've just got the four-way tool post aligned perfectly at 90 degrees to the bed. You can use a square or a ruler, or probably the best bet is to actually scribe your cutter across the job. So the job will just go in this case we're going to do the sides, so we'll put the grub screws to the bottom, and we'll just lock it up using two of the tool post grub screws. Make sure you do them up good and tight, because there's a fair bit of vibration, well, you know, some cutting vibration goes on with this. So, you know, you yank them up good and solid, and then you're good to go. And it's just a matter then of put on the light, which is a good thing to have for this sort of work, because you can then check to see how it goes for clearance. I'll come in close. Oh, and then of course we've got the magic, very expensive, I mean, I just lashed out to hell on this chip shield, which I've got to admit I have had that for more than a few years, and it's almost at retirement stage, but I could get a few more hours use out of it. But these are the best because you can move them around. They soak up any oil that sprays out from your cutting fluid, and you know, they're good. Don't cost anything. And if it's a beer carton, well, you get to empty the beer carton before you use it. So how good is that? You know, what a deal. Okay, I'll come in close. All right, you can see what we're doing. We've got our bit of metal in here, and we're going to do it this way. You lock down the carriage, and you do all your adjustment with your top slide. Have your top slide at 90 degrees, parallel to the waves, basically. Although it doesn't really matter, I suppose. The main thing is just make sure your tool holder's in the right orientation, and then just bring in the job so it's very close. So you know, have the light on so you can just see the gap between the cutting tip and the face of the job, and just go across the job. Make sure that you get uniform gap all the way across. You can put marker pen on there and scribe a line, but that's not quite as good. You know, I think just look at that light gap. You could use your feeler gauge if you want to. I just use the light gap. Now with the milling, the fly cutter, this is one that I made up in previous videos. Go back to the videos, you'll find it. Easy to make. You just use your existing carbide tooling, and it'll do a good job. With the tool post, you can't use an end mill because the end mill will be basically not big enough to cover the full width of the job, given that the job is going to be off-centre. These tool posts are always off-centre to some degree, so you've got to use a fly cutter. And as you can see, you've got a certain amount of overhang. You can fly cut quite a lot off before you hit your tool post. Tool post will take it, no problem. It'll actually be probably more rigid than a vertical mill slide. You don't have as much leverage and canting. So we're good to go. Now, what am I spinning it at? We'll have a look. So we're spinning at 1400 RPM. I can go faster. This will go up to 1800, I think. But I don't want to go any faster than that. That's plenty fast enough. If you go too fast, you could screw up your carbide tip, you know, as it's an interrupted cut, remember? One other thing, when you do mill on the lathe at any stage, always disconnect your change gears as much as possible, in which case we've split them here. We've just got these top ones, the reverse tumbler gears, are the only ones that are actually in mesh, because the vibration coming back through the spindle will come down through the change gears, and you can actually knock teeth off of change gears if it gets too severe. So if you're doing heavy milling, light milling, no problem. Heavy milling, definitely disconnect them, because yeah, I've managed to chip a tooth or two over the years, and as you can see, you know, that's a replacement gear, that's a replacement gear, that's a replacement gear, that's a replacement gear. This poor old thing's had a hell of a hard time. In actual fact, that's the first gear I ever made, and I made it on the lathe. You can see how to make gears on the lathe. Go back through my old videos once again. I've got a web page on it. And that is aluminium, and that's been going for damn near 20 years. Still going strong. Just shows you how good aluminium is for gears. It'll do the job. Don't you worry about that whatsoever. Okay, we'll move on. I'll do it without the shield on, just to give you an idea of how much, you know, shake and shudder there is. There's virtually none. And then I'll put the cover on so you don't spray crap everywhere. Now make sure that you're back before you turn it on, otherwise you're going to have a nasty bang. Bring it up so it's alongside of it, and then move in on it. Okay, back out. So we brought the job up so it was in line with the cutter, started it up, moved in the job so it hit, and then we backed off. Now we're good to go, so what we do is we'll back off wind in a little bit more, just do small cuts. There we go. You can cut in both directions, but you may find that one direction gives a better finish than the other. On this insert, I actually chipped this a while back, and I just ground another facet on it, and it's working fine for milling. It'll do a really good job. So I'll put the cover back and I'll get serious on the job. Always wear goggles when doing this sort of work, because chips can fly around and they'll be red hot, so you don't want anything going in your eyeball. It won't do it much good at all. After you've been going for a while, check your bolts. You don't want anything coming loose. And it can happen, so just keep an eye on them. All right, off we go again. There's your finish, pretty good. I'll move the carriage back so you can have a better look at it. Get some light on it. Yeah, it'll do a good job, really good job. And as I said, that's just a standard TCMT indexable carbide cutter. So now we'll take this out and I'll turn it around and we'll do the other side so we get it, fairly uniform. Right, well there it is. What we've done so far, we'll just clean it up, deburr it so we can mount it correctly, and then we'll measure it and see how it turned out. Looks pretty good to me. Oh, what have we got? 1366. 1365. Oh, how'd that grab you? So it just shows you can get really good, accurate results out of just using an old tool post, and yeah, who needs a mill? For simple stuff like this, you don't. Well, there you have it. It just shows what you can do with a basic lathe. You can even mill on it and get good results. It's quite easy, but a fly cutter is definitely what you would need. As I said, the centre line would be wrong otherwise, so you can compensate for that. So now these will fit the Schaublin as well as the Chinese lathe. The Chinese lathe, you put them in that way. And the Schaublin, you go that way. Simple, One of these will fit one of these is a bit narrower than the others there. That one will fit the shear line But I think the shear line, center line height is different again, so I'll probably have to make up some special holders for the shear line. No rush, as long as I've got, you know, one lathe, and this, well, I've got two lathes that can now take these tiny little boring bars. I can do fine work on either of them. Once again, they're not big lathes. You can, you know, you can do it easy on these little babies. Get yourself a lathe, have the time of your life, and yeah, just hunker down in the workshop until this coronavirus thing sorts itself out. I hope everybody stays safe and well, and yeah, don't be afraid to get in that workshop and make some chips and noise. Okay, till next time, see you around, cheers.